Well, good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folani. Hope you had a great weekend. We've got the election season on our mind. 2023 is just around the corner. People are talking about months, 6, 7, 8 months. What? Anyhow, what are the factors that are going to be shaping the election? That's what we thought we would have a chat about today. And of course, you're always involved because when the time comes, you phone in yourselves. Factors that will be shaping, very likely to shape the 2023 elections. And for that purpose, our guest in our Abuja studio this morning is Mr. Bashir Maidugu, and he is an APC stakeholder in Borno State. One time he was a special advisor to then Governor Kashim Shettima on infrastructure. Of course, Kashima Shettima, as you know, is the running mate of the flag bearer of APC for the presidency, Ashwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And currently, he is special advisor to the Borno State Governor, that is current Governor Professor Babagana Zulum, on trade and investment. You're very welcome, Barrister Bashir Maidugu.
Thank you very much for having me.
Indeed, my pleasure. So, to kick off with it now, there's so many issues that confront us in the country. One administration will be leaving, another one will be coming in, and in those kind of times, it happened when the present president was going to come on board, and now it certainly will be happening. People will have a sort of heightened hope, renewed hope as to those of their aspirations that have not been fully met yet, probably might get a better look in now. So what, to your mind, are going to be the key? Most people probably have a mind of their own on this matter. The economy is there. Criminality, insecurity, and all of those kind of things. How incoming administrations will be addressing these issues to make a difference is my first guess. But I'm not the guest here. You are the expert and the guest. You're an APC stakeholder and have long been in the APC. So what do you think are going to be the likely factors affecting the 2023 elections?
Thank you very much. Well, there are lots of factors that will affect the 2023 elections, and some are already manifesting, and there is very high hopes, for a good government in 2023. And one of the most crucial, determinants of the 2023 election is the issue of security and the issue of, the ASU strike issue that has left a lot of students at home doing nothing. This has really disturbed, parents. And then the third and most important, I think, among them is the economy, because the economic situation of the country, determines unemployment, the ASU situation itself and everything. So in effect, the government that is supposed to come in 2023 will have to address, these issues head on. And most importantly, I will talk about the issue of security. I will have to, suggest to Nigerians that we should embrace the Borno State model. And we are all aware that in Borno State we had insecurity for the first, say, 13 years now. And when it first started, the government actually ignored it. And they were not really interested in, taking the issue head on, so thereby nipping it in the bud. But they ignored it, and they actually tried to crush it in such a way that it will be gone forever. But that's not the issue. The leadership of that group was killed, and a lot of people in that group were killed, and this led to the constant, problems that we've had. And if this issue had been resolved initially, in the right manner, I think we would not have had the issue of Boko Haram, we would not have had the issue of security. And Nigerians should understand that the issue of security is a complex issue, mixing, diplomacy with firmness, with a lot of understanding of the, socio-economic problems that has led to this insecurity. For example, in Borno, after realizing that we could not handle the issue, militarily, the government had to, under Governor Kashim Shettima, had to, engage the youth, got the youth to volunteer to help our security forces to, in intelligence gathering and in actually, showing the military and other security agencies the terrain, of the state and, pinpoint the Boko Haram members, that actually resulted in them, going to the bush because they were in Maiduguri for like many years, assassinating and detonating bombs here and there. They were chased out with the help of the youth who volunteered to help the military. Not for any money, but to ensure that their future is secured. So in that light, I will want Nigeria to take a cue from our experience. Because, for example, the bandits in the other parts of the country, they have issues. They have, grievances that should be understood, and we should engage the villagers, the youth in the villages, and the communities, to identify them, to locate them in the forests, to use technology to identify their locations and crush them, and at the same time talk to them so that they should surrender. As we speak, we have thousands and thousands of Boko Haram members who have voluntarily surrendered, not because of anything, because they cannot just continue anymore, because they have been actually cornered, in every respect. That should be the approach of the government. It's an all-encompassing approach, militarily, diplomatically, through every respect that the government can do. That is how to address them. And you have to take ownership of the future of this country as Nigerians, because if we now abandon everything to the security agency, yeah, I'm listening.
I was going to try and find out, all of these things is what we thought. It might well be that when the current administration came in, they probably thought they had a grasp of the issue, but perhaps in the event, they found out that there was still much more learning to be done. So here we are, and there are those who are saying the security situation vis-a-vis 2015 has not improved appreciably, to put it delicately. Now, what do you think, because you've just explained yourself how it's a very intricate matter, this whole matter of security and how to address it.
Yeah,
you cannot do it militarily. So what do you think will be done? Because the contestants are going to have to take their pitch to the people and persuade them that, look, it's been the way it's been for the past 8 years by the time they are actually campaigning, but then there are other ways out. That, I imagine, is going to be what a lot of people are going to want to be paying attention to. What was not done or was not done as well as might have been done, how it is that the incoming administration, whoever he is, will be able to do it better. That's a big challenge, perhaps.
We need to have a stakeholder engagement. We don't have to rely on foreign experts per se. We really have to engage stakeholders in every respect. Even, those surrendered bandits and those captives, we need to, get their opinion. We need to really engage them to address this situation. in addition to the military option that we have, we also have to have, technology. We have to deploy technology, to handle them. For example, drones. We have military-grade drones in the world right now. Turkey makes them, Romania makes them, that can travel up to 300-kilometer radius, for 2-3 hours. And with arms, these can be used to actually pinpoint them, to handle them. And not only that, we really have to, understand that this is a continuous process. We don't have to address the security issue at once and then relax. No, it's supposed to be a continuous issue. We have to monitor societies, we have to monitor groups, religious groups, and other groups that have the tendency of actually, plunging this country into insecurity like we're having now. It's going to be a continuous process. Preachers, both in the mosques and the churches, will have to be licensed by government so that all those who are militants that incite society can be handled, that are denied the opportunity of addressing Nigerians, addressing people, inciting them to do bad things. And we also have to have a orientation of, a national orientation that will take charge of, reorienting our society towards, a value system that will be centered around patriotism. We really have to take ownership of our future. We have to realize that we don't have anywhere else to go, because with 250 million people, no country in this in this continent can be able to accommodate Nigerian refugees. So we really have to understand that, address these issues that we are having, the problem, the economic problem, the insecurity problem, and other problems that we are having, so that, we can have a secure future for our children and grandchildren. And as I said, we have models, not only in Borno, but all over the world. If you look at the history of the world, usually you don't have to suppress, for example, a group that is actually oppressed. You cannot, because they will go underground and cause problems. So you understand their situation, address them. Nigeria is a diverse society. We are over 400 ethnic groups. We have many religious groups, and within these religious groups, we have, different sects, both in the Christian and the Muslim and other religions. So we really have to, come to terms with reality, understand our diversity, and use them positively to develop this country, so that we will be proud to be called Nigerians anywhere we go. And
indeed, this is why
the Nigerians in diaspora understand what I'm talking about. Yes,
indeed, I imagine that is the case. This is why the electorate are going to be listening very, very carefully to all of the candidates and what they have to offer. You touched on quite a number of them in speaking, as you did earlier. The economy is also crucial. If security, has the report card that it has, let me put it like that, and here we are, the economy. There are people, I don't know how fair an index it is, but there are people who are looking at the price of the dollar when the former president, gave way for the new president, and the almost unheard of heights that the exchange rate has climbed to. And it's not just the exchange rate, but I suppose it's also indicative of what we're also experiencing in the country. There's kind of inflation, In short, people are complaining that you can't afford to live comfortably. Maybe comfortably is even overstating it, but you know what I mean. People are complaining. So this, again, people are going to want to know, I imagine, what is going to be done about this economy, because it is the economy, I imagine, that is also relating to the lack of the compromising of security. All those bandits and all those militants, they actually are stating that they have their own grievances, but nobody is ready to listen to them. And so in their thinking, this is the only thing that government hears. It hears when there is disturbance. It won't give us a platform to talk. So it's only when there are resources to be able to address some of these issues that we can even begin to, along with the ideas that you suggested, there must be the way to be able to do something for them. So the economy, that's a big one, isn't it?
Thank you. Thank you. It is a big one. But you see, the situation of the dollar and naira is a function of our productivity and our ability to export what we produce, and the engagement of our natural resources and so on. Well, we really have to understand that we have to produce not only to consume but also to export, to earn more foreign exchange, so that the country shall have foreign exchange to finance development. But in addition to that, we have to also tap into the, vast resources in the private sector. We have vast resources in the private sector, in the pension funds. Globally, the practices governments in Europe and the Middle East and even America and some parts of Asia, in fact, most parts of Asia engage in right now is public-private partnership. Government should restrictions, should come up with a system whereby infrastructure projects in health sector, in education sector, in the transport sector, and other sectors, including roads and so on, ports, airports. The private sector is actively engaged in developing this infrastructure, and government shall just, operate as a catalyst to regulate them, and at the same time, freeing its own resources for other developmental, issues. A government can, now have conserve its resources to develop, other crucial areas, in food production, in other areas that, the society really desperately needs funding. The private sector can comfortably take care of infrastructure funding, so that government does not involve itself in infrastructure funding. And already the government of Nigeria has embraced the concept of public-private partnerships. They have set up the Infrastructure Concessions Regulatory Commission through the Infrastructure ICRC Act, and it's there, in the presidency. But they should be encouraged, to take part in capacity building from local governments to states to the federal level, so that government officials shall be aware that government does not need to have to spend money on infrastructure. Instead, government should free up compensation in a transparent manner, inviting international companies that are experts, that have technical and financial capacity to develop infrastructure. For example, there are some government agencies, government companies that are, you can call, moribund. These should be sold up and privatized. Some others, that has the tendency of, for example, making a monopoly, should be commercialized and monitored in such a way that it can serve the society, conserving government resources. Experts should be, engaged anywhere in the world to come and manage them, pay them their money, and then, serve the society. That way, government can conserve its resources and then use them, in other crucial areas. And then we should also engage, we should amend our Pension Fund Act. The pension fund, the pension reform law that has been there has kept, our pension funds running into trillions of naira without use. Pension is a fund that is supposed to take care of retirees. When they retire from government, we don't have.
We haven't been doing
all
well
government
in
officials
that area.
retiring at the same time.
We haven't been able to.
We really have to reform it in such a way that companies should have access to the pension fund. They can borrow it and fund infrastructure projects for the long term. Nigerian banks cannot fund projects for more than 2 years, for example. But the pension fund cannot also be accessed beyond 7 years. So they should be able to provide funding beyond that. And the good thing about infrastructure funding in this part of the country is that it can never get into a loss-making, enterprise. Because people use infrastructure, people use airports, people use health facilities, people use education facilities, and so on. And you make them profitable so that the private sector can make its money, they can repay their loans, people can use quality, materials so that, at the end of the day, government will have achieved its purpose by providing this without necessarily spending money. This is one other aspect. We don't need to be taking loans to finance infrastructure funding. We don't need to be taking loans to finance. We don't need to be taking loans to finance consumption.
Okay.
Like for instance, my brother.
I'm sorry.
Barrister Festus.
1
minute, please. Barrister Festus Keyamo last time was saying that government should not borrow money to pay ASU. I agree with him totally.
Let me take a break here. Stay with us, please. We'll be right back and we'll continue with this conversation. Stay with us, if you will. Okay, welcome back. And if you've just joined us, we're looking at factors that will likely shape the 2023 elections. And our guest is Bashir Maidugu. Mr. Maidugu is Trade and Investment, Special Advisor, Trade and Investments to the Governor of Borno State, Professor Governor Zulum. And before that, when Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu's running mate was governor in Borno, he was also the special advisor then to that governor as well. And today, well, he's a member of the presidential, the election committee in APC, and he's a stakeholder, a long-time stakeholder in APC. So we're having this conversation on what will likely affect or shape the elections and the campaigns that will come up next year. Now, coming back to you, Mr. Maidugu, you've spoken about infrastructure. And, this government, it has done a lot in the area of infrastructure, which was a theme that you were making. So I imagine that's something that incoming people can actually build upon. But I wanted to ask you what you think about the concept. In other areas, we hear how in election years, things like making big government smaller, less wasteful, less opulent, in short, trimming down government because of the cost of a government. It doesn't seem to an observer, just looking at how we go about our affairs here, that we are in dire straits. We keep on hearing that we don't have money for this, we don't have money for that, we can't pay, we can't sort out ASU, we can't do this. But it doesn't look as if the present administration is interested in a lean government. Would you advise, or do you think that would be important? As I said, it's not usually commonly brought up here, but in the West, it certainly is brought up that people actually try to woo the electorate with a promise of, trimming down the government and governance and the cost of government.
Yeah, the cost of governance is one of the banes of our situation, and as a matter of fact, it would be prudent if we look at how, our appointments are made. For example, 36 ministers of the Federation, I think 20 ministers shall be enough. Our legislature should be such that can be maintained. For example, we have 109 senators. We have 300 plus members of House of Representatives. What we could do, I think, to actually trim down the government is to marry these two and come up with an innovative solution, so that at the end we will have like 200 legislators, a unicameral legislator, just like in other countries. We don't have to copy American style, exactly. We really have to make it such that it suits our own purpose and pockets, like 200 members, maybe you can call them anything. And at the same time, we should be able to be, careful appointing so many aides and so many.
But it's too late. It's too late, is it not? It's too late for that now. It looks like we're stuck.
It is, but I think the next government should look into that.
Depend on all these officers to further their cause.
Yes, I agree with you. There are other ways of actually compensating, politicians. Train them in such a way that they can be productive to the society, not only through politics. Politics is not only for the jobless; it's for people that have specific, businesses. It will serve them better, even if it is normal trade or other professions like lawyers, doctors, and some other. So what you do is engage them either as consultants, as contractors, so that they conform to your own standards, to a basic standard of, construction, or the basic standard of project that you have, and make our people productive in such a way that they also employ labor. They're always engaged. You don't have to employ them and be paying them salaries all the time. That actually tells a lot, on the pocket of government. So I believe a trim government is good for the country, is good for our society, and we will have more efficiency if we have a trim government, because decision-making process itself would be, the time for decision-making will be reduced. And therefore we will have a faster, government. On the other hand, there are other ways of revamping the economy, including, for example, setting up skill acquisition centers all across the country. It's the responsibility of states, really. We in Borno, for example, we have skill acquisition centers in all the senatorial zones, where youth and women and people that are able-bodied and those who are, disabled, so to speak, can engage in different trades that will make them productive in the society, that will make them pay taxes to the government. For example, we have skill acquisition center where, carpentry, electrical works, works with respect to masonry and so on. People are trained and made productive in the society. One doesn't have to, always seek for employment with the government in order to make a living.
Yeah, but
that's the situation.
Mr. Maidugu, whereas I hear you, these are hardly the kind of things that I imagine candidates want to be talking about, because it won't go down well with the Nigerian, shall I say, electorate, who have been used to a different order. So we're looking at what are the factors that are likely to affect that election. The youth, for instance, not just youth, younger people, the way they are going, I'm sure you're also aware of news in the polity, especially as it relates to getting PVC cards, voting, the Electoral Act as amended. It helps a lot. So do you think that could also shape the election? Because the seniors that have been holding sway all this while are used to doing things in a certain way, and here we are, we see it. But now the youth, the younger people, I should be saying really, the younger people are now rising up. Do you think that they could affect the election, the conduct of the election, and the kind of pitch that must be made if indeed they actually can deliver on the promise of the large numbers? If the younger people up and down the land were to actually unite, get their PVC, then that would be a totally different audience. It doesn't supplant the existing audience, political audience, but then these youths now coming in, do you think it could affect anything?
Yeah, I think the frustration of the younger people is mostly informed by the strike, of the universities. I think largely, And this should be addressed. I think the government should address this. And it's a give and take situation. ASU will have to understand our own situation as a country. The government will have to understand the problem of continuing strike, by the academic staff, and strike a balance and come up with an agreement that will, will stand the test of time. In my own way, I'm coming to your question. In my own way, in my own suggestion, I will suggest, in order to actually address the issue of the incessant ASU strike, I would suggest that, the National Assembly shall amend the Constitution and come up with a charge to the Federation account that will take care of education, so that issues of funding of public institutions across the country, including staff salaries, trainings, and infrastructure of public institutions, can be charged directly the same way the judiciary, is funded. And in that way, the government will have little control over, the funding of ASU, in the sense that ASU will understand as well that it is not at the whims and caprices of officials at the Federal Ministry of Education to determine whether their schools are funded or not, or whether their salaries are increased in certain ways or not. So my suggestion is that we should have a constitutional amendment to charge the Federation account to fund our public university system the same way the judiciary is funded, the same way the ecological fund is set up, which was placed under the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. So because of the incessant, environmental pollution, the ecological fund was set up and is taking charge of environmental issues. So that same way, university education should be handled, so that there will be a permanent solution to this problem. I think government should look into this. Then you are talking about the younger people, being
younger
angry,
people,
and I think I addressed the issue of why they are angry. Yeah. Being angry, they came out to register in large numbers, and that is what they ought to have done right from before. That it's a civic responsibility to register, to vote. We have younger people across the country. It's a society. We have different ethnicity, different religion, and they have a common, denominator of being young and being concerned with the future. And this actually, translates into them having, the same interest. But I disagree that they will all be having the same, opinions. There will be divergence of opinions even among the younger people, and it will just be another election. 2023 will be another election. And
you don't think it's going to be special in that sense?
The outcome.
You don't think it'll be special in that sense of a whole lot of younger people coming into it with a mindset of, we are tired and we want to actually influence how things go in this election, and as an extension, that is what the media propagates, and that is what we see in the social media. But I believe what is in the social media is different from the what is on ground. I know exactly what is on ground because, I have been on the field, I have been to so many, elections, primary elections, general elections in different, parts of the country. I know the feeling. Even now, I am also active on social media. You see, I know exactly what you are talking about, but I think there will be no difference in 2023. The difference may be there, but it will not be much. The contest is between PDP and APC, and I believe, Asiwaju Ahmed Tinubu has an edge over all of them because of, his pedigree, his, policies, his track record, and the vice president that he picked, who has a track record, and Nigerians are just knowing him, and
This is a team that is detribalized. It's a team that has, Nigeria at heart. They are concerned about issues, and some people are trying to actually change the conversation into a religious conversation. I think it's a shame on them, because you see, the presidency or the vice presidency of Nigeria shall be, strictly based on competence and capability, instead of emotions or sentiments. I know Kashim Shettima, I know Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Both of them have track record, and it's a situation that we are looking for. Kashim Shettima, when he was governor, for example, I'm aware of the kind of pressures that he underwent. I'm aware of, how he chose, his successor. The pressure he faced, it's not easy. Leadership is about taking difficult decisions. In 2019, I'm sorry to say that, I have to digress. In 2019, in the run-up to the primaries of the APC in 2018, we had over 20 governorship aspirants in my state. And all of them are, jostling to get the endorsement of Governor Kashim Shettima then. He was very firm. He came up with a decision that actually we are now applauding today. Okay. This is the kind of leadership we want, Okay. And
so could I come in again, please?
You saw his,
I beg your pardon.
His successors. Yeah.
Sorry, I realize there's some sort of a delay, so I understand that. The other political hot potato, I imagine, going back to the economy, and I'm specifically thinking about fuel subsidy here. Now, the economic experts tell us it doesn't make economic sense, that the best thing is to get rid of fuel subsidy once and for all. I called it a hot potato, a political hot potato, because that will do, what that is going to do to the price, even as it is said to be the only, at the end of the day, the only cause, that's going to be helpful. So what do you, I beg your pardon. Okay, can I just tell our viewers that also we'll be cutting away to a live event now, but we will continue on the program. The rest of our viewers in the diaspora will be able to continue to listen to us. So so sorry for that. It was a needed interruption in that I needed to advise you. So this whole matter of fuel subsidy, it makes sense to the ordinary Nigerian who, because of it, is barely able to afford fuel. And so what do we now do in that kind of a circumstance? Is that also an issue that you think could shape the outcome or indeed the election in 2023? The issue of fuel subsidy, removal or not removal?
Yori, this is a very, very dicey, situation. Fuel subsidy has its own pluses and it has its own minuses. But when you weigh it, whichever one that is heavier shall be dealt in that direction. Globally, fuel subsidies, it's because Nigeria is producing fuel, and unfortunately we are not refining the fuel we produce, crude oil we produce, and that has actually affected. And we are living in the mentality in the old mentality, where when we produce crude oil, we just simply take it to Port Harcourt, Wari or Kaduna, refine it and sell it within ourselves. That is the mentality we are living in, but that is not anymore. We are now importing fuel, and we are importing it at international prices, and that actually triggered the subsidy. That means that government is spending money that it does not have, So we actually have to look at it and address, it squarely. As I have said, it requires leadership. It requires leadership and to take such a decision. Whichever government, that is coming in 2023, the APC government that is coming, for example, will have to address this issue of fuel subsidy head on. There is no any two ways about it. But before doing that, we really have to address the issue of wages and salaries of public servants, of you know, the university lecturers, so that when the fuel subsidy is removed, which will actually result in inflation, their salaries are not wiped off through the purchase of food items. There will be crisis. So government will have to really carefully set up a committee of experts to come up with decisions, you know, that that will help the situation. I could remember, I'll have to, you know, go back to history and remember, in this country there was a time fuel was increased from 8 naira to 11 naira. And the Petroleum Trust Fund was set up. You know, this 2 naira was given to the Petroleum Trust Fund, 2 naira per liter. And this Petroleum Trust Fund did wonders across the country. They employed a lot of professionals and other people. They did a lot of projects across the country and has helped government and Nigerians, you know, achieve some level of development with just 2 naira increment of, you know, price of petrol, you know. And I think we need something innovative in that direction, something that will address, you know, our problems without necessarily, you know, putting so much pressure on the population. And that will have to be done through, you know, a deep study, a deep, you know, commitment by the government, you know, a very decisive action, you know, that must be taken to address the situation, because it is not really wise to keep subsidizing fuel that we're importing. And government will also have to, you know, license, just like the way it has licensed other modular refineries and the Dangote refineries, more refineries, you know, so that there will be availability of fuel everywhere. And with respect to crude oil production and export, Nigeria will have to address the issue of crude oil theft, five-line vandalization. We have to address this. And I advise the government to actually overhaul the security system in our oil production facilities in such a way that our exports become seamless like those of Saudi Arabia, you know, so that our production, export, and storage are all digitalized in such a way that, you know, the government can monitor it right from here in Abuja. You know, you can see anything and everybody, you know, involved in that from here in Abuja. That's what the Saudi Arabians are doing. And that's how they're maximizing their, you know, crude oil exports. We
well,
have
as
to
you
do
know,
that.
a lot of
we
secrecy.
have no choice.
Back home here, a lot of secrecy, as you well know, is involved in this whole aspect of it. So people don't really see all of the picture. It's as if, you know, people in government allegedly only want you to see what they want you to see. Because it is only one person that is in charge. We can't have everybody knowing everything, and therefore, so I imagine that's a problem. But beyond all of that, Mr. Maidugu, I've also heard talk about, you know, in Nigeria here, there are no independent candidates. So you must be of a party in order to run for election. But I'm hearing that some people are beginning to look at who are the candidates. So in addition to a party, there must also be a candidate that people feel, or candidates that people feel can actually deliver, even if we don't have independent candidates. Give me your thoughts on this matter, because if you go by party, I don't know, PDP reportedly, you know, has disappointed. That is in the view of somebody over time. APC has come along. People are not exactly ecstatic about the performance of APC to date, even though there are all the challenges that are being explained from time to time. So this whole matter about beyond the party, look into the people and see if these people sound like somebody who can deliver, people who have track records, people who have bases, that kind of a thing. Tell me how influential you think this is going to be as we go into this election? Because all of the things you've been talking about are very difficult subjects for politicians on a campaign trail to be talking about. They're not populist. And ordinarily, they say politicians overpromise. Might there not be that danger too if we're not careful?
Well, you see, I will have to talk about each of the political parties. PDP is not a new thing to Nigerians. We have the records, and it's not impressive. And those on the ballot in PDP are not people that are new. They have been there, and they have been doing it. They have been contesting the elections, in the past. And there's nothing revolutionary about PDP, absolutely nothing. They have nothing to give. That's a fact, On APC, we have a candidate that is, I can say, new, in the sense that he has never contested election at the national level, and he is contesting this time, and he has a mission, and he has a vision, and he has exhibited his experience, his competence, his capacity elsewhere in Lagos State, for example. And it's on record that Lagos State is one of the top 5 economies in Africa, if it's a country. And this is actually made possible by Asuwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So I believe he has everything to give Nigeria. And I think we should tap from his experience, knowledge, capacity, and competence. And he has an able deputy, an able, helping hand in the person of Senator Kashim Shettima, who also has a track record. I have a lot of things to say about Senator Kashim Shettima, with his performance.
You work with him very closely.
I just gave only one
example. But I'll tell you what,
example,
Mr. Maidugu, I beg your pardon for interrupting
I
you.
worked with him very closely.
Forgive me for interrupting you. You work very closely with him. Time is a despot. It's not a democrat. And we've completely run out of time. But I'm hoping we can do this again. But I want to thank you very much, sir, for your sharing your insights with us as to what the factors are likely to be that will be shaping the 2023 elections. Thank you very much for coming on our program.
Thank you very much, Yori. I hope to be again very soon.
Indeed. Thank you very much. So that's our program. Please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I am Yori Folani. Bye-bye for now.